Today, we're going to cover 10 non-James Bond classic spy movies that we think you should add to your watch list from the 1930s through the 1950s. And we have podcast episodes on each of these movies separately, so you can get a lot of detail by listening to those episodes as well. Hi, this is Dan.
And Tom.
Of Cracking the Code of Spy Movies, and we have some spy movie gems for you to see. We're going to highlight spy movies that many would miss or maybe pass over if they saw they were available to watch on any streaming service.
And part of the reason you might have missed these is because many of them are in black and white. And many are war-based spy movies. So we will be doing another 10 non-James Bond spy movies that are more current movies than what we're talking about today. So stay tuned for that one.
All right, we're going to start with a couple of them that we think you probably have not watched or maybe skipped over. But we're going to skip some of the obvious ones like North by Northwest, the IPCRESS File, and others. But we will highlight other spy movies and some of the other Hitchcock spy movies as well. Thanks for your support. And hey, subscribe if you haven't yet. All right, so let's start with The Silent Enemy, 1958. The Silent Enemy, this is a World War II movie set in the Mediterranean in 1941 and is about British ships in Alexandria and Gibraltar being mysteriously blown up. The ships are both warships, like British battleships, and merchant ships that will transport needed supplies to Malta, a strategic island in World War II between Sicily, Italy, and the African northeast coast.
Actually, you know, one thing about this movie, Dan, it kind of made me understand better the strategic significance of Malta.
Yes.
I knew it was there. I knew it was important, but I didn't really get it. This movie helped me get it.
Yeah, Malta was a strategic island in World War II. I visited Malta. I was in the bunker in Malta where the Allies planned the invasion of Sicily. That was really cool. Malta's a cool country. All right. There's this Lieutenant Lionel Crabb. He's an explosives expert, and he's brought in to figure out what's going on, and the rest of the movie details his exploits, the team he assembles, and his skills at defusing bombs and at becoming an underwater diving expert. It's interesting to note, really, that Lionel Crabb was a real person in World War II and beyond. And there are some interesting connections between this movie and some James Bond movies as well.
Yeah, we should also point out that The Silent Enemy, the movie, is based on the book Commander Crabb. We're talking about this is about this guy.
Yeah.
The book is called Commander Crabb by Marshall Pugh, and it contains historical facts, but this isn't a documentary, so there's historical reality stuff in this, but again, it isn't a documentary. The details depicted aren't necessarily accurate as they unfold through the movie, but Crabb was real.
Yep.
A lot of the basis for this movie was real, and we share an interesting real-life story involving Lionel Crabb's disappearance in our podcast episode.
Yeah. Now, the acting in The Silent Enemy is solid. The cast is led by Lawrence Harvey as Lionel Crabb, and Dawn Adams as the third officer Jill Masters, John Clements as the Admiral, Sidney James as Chief Petty Officer Thorpe, and Michael Craig as Seaman Knowles. They're all excellent. The director, William Fairchild, does a spectacular job here, as does the underwater camera expert, Egil Waxholt, and the director of photography, Otto Heller.
Oh, Heller did some great movies, including the 1965 spy movie, The IPCRESS File, with Michael Caine.
Yeah. Yeah, there are underwater chariots in this movie. And there's no doubt that Thunderball's underwater sleds and chariots were inspired by the real ones used in World War II and that are featured here in The Silent Enemy. 3 years before Fleming wrote Thunderball, Fleming mentions these sleds in the novel. And we go into plenty of detail in our episode on The Silent Enemy, so check that one out.
All right, Dan, now this movie was made in 1958, and the sleds in this movie are not anywhere near as sleek as what we see in Thunderball.
No.
But they actually were the real ones used.
Yeah, in World War II.
Yeah, so they're not
They
going
had
to be
'em.
quite as sleek as what we got in Thunderball.
Yeah.
But this is a really good movie. It's based on things that really happened. It was a huge influence on Thunderball.
Absolutely.
So take a listen to our episode and then watch this movie. Listen to the episode first if you haven't seen this, so you'll get some background to make watching the movie more enjoyable.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the second one. Q Planes, 1939. This is one I think a lot of people, we've got a lot of feedback from listeners who heard our podcast on the full episode of Q Planes, and they said, man, never knew this movie existed. They loved it. All right, so we're jumping to 1939. The movie is titled Q Planes, but in the United States, they called it Clouds Over Europe. This is an intriguing movie, and again, has many connections and influences on spy movies to come. And it stars British legends Ralph Richardson, Laurence Olivier, and Valerie Hobson. Yow.
Yeah, great cast. And
Yeah.
interestingly, this movie has been called a comedy spy movie.
Yeah, I don't
And
think that
well,
part.
comic gags are going on the whole time. It's really highlighting not much more than 6 months before World War II that the Nazis were something to be dealt with and should be taken seriously. So there's a very serious part to this movie.
Absolutely.
It's just Ralph Richardson's kind of a little comedic with the way he portrays his character. The British were already believing about the seriousness of the Nazis, but the Americans had a different name for this, probably to open up the eyes of the American people who hadn't been taking Nazism very serious up to then. So the movie is a balance between a very serious subject matter, high-tech gadgets for a 1930s movie, and some comic relief, especially with one of the main characters, Hammond, who was Ralph Richardson's role.
Yeah. And just as an aside, there's an actor in this movie named Ian Fleming. Okay, it's not James Bond's Ian Fleming, but it's a British actor who's been in 100 British movies, and he actually played Dr. Watson in a series of Sherlock Holmes movies in the 1930s. A couple of other things, too. Patrick Macnee had admitted that his portrayal of John Steed in The Avengers, of course, in many respects, he based that upon Sir Ralph Richardson's performance as Major Charles Hammond in this movie. They both play a very classy, dapper man who almost always carries an umbrella.
And one of the writers was Jack Whittingham, and this was his first credited screenplay. Now, you may know his story in relation to Ian Fleming and Thunderball. After collaborating on the story with Kevin McClory and Jack Whittingham, Fleming wrote the novel, but only credited himself. Then a lawsuit began against Fleming. They finally settled after a long time. It got really ugly, but Jack Whittingham was involved in writing both.
All right, Q Planes is a very, very clever story. The basic storyline is that the British have developed a supercharger for warplanes that will dramatically increase the speed of the plane, providing an advantage, of course, in battle. Some of the test planes that have gone up testing sensitive devices have mysteriously disappeared. And there is fear that the test planes for the supercharger will disappear. So they're concerned. No wreckage has been found during the many search missions. So no one knows what is happening to these planes. And the underlying fear is that the technology could fall into enemy hands. We've all worried about that concept in future spy movies, of course. But this is 1939. So look for connections in this movie to You Only Live Twice and The Spy Who Loved Me, too.
Yeah, so for spy movie fans, and if you're listening to this, I assume you're a spy movie fan.
Yeah.
This movie is a must-see. It'll fill in many of the pieces of what you've seen in spy movies afterwards, because this thing definitely had an influence on the spy movie genre. And again, we do have a full episode out on Q Planes, so check that out and then watch the movie. It is streaming free on YouTube here in the US as we're recording this episode.
All right, a couple of quick shout outs. One on our last trivia quiz, Marcus Hansen, 6158, said, "It's not easy or too hard. Just love it." And Mick Orbett, 2518, said, "Hey, great quiz. Keep it going." Now, on The Spy Who Loved Me filming locations, Bill Cook, 4768, and Art B, 126, said they enjoyed that video as well. And on our James Bond Walter PBK with firearms expert Tom Whiteman, Wrath 231 said, "Great. Loved it," and had a couple of critiques on it, actually. And on our Operation Crossbow podcast that we just released a few weeks ago, "Great episode," said Sohair Harp. I think it's Sohair Harp. That's what it looks like. So the whole point is here, don't just watch a movie, discover it. And we will help you do that here and always. You will always discover something new in every single one of our episodes. That's why we are in our 7th year of cracking the code of spy movies with over 325 episodes available for your enjoyment and discovery. Thanks for your support, and hey, subscribe now if you haven't yet. All right, let's move on to movie number 3, The Man Who Knew Too Much. You know about The Man Who Knew Too Much, and we know that, but we're going to talk about the 1934 and the 1956 version. And the 1934 version, you got to watch.
Yeah, so there are 2 versions of this movie, The Man Who Knew Too Much, and they're very different, but the shell of the story is the same. And probably if you have watched The Man Who Knew Too Much, you watched the 1956 version. Alfred Hitchcock directed both of them, and he criticized himself after the 1934 version, saying, quote, "Let's say the first version is a work of a talented amateur, and the second was made by a professional," end of quote. Yeah. But we think there are many things in the 1934 production that are brilliantly done, and sometimes even better than the 1956 version. Yeah. So seeing both of them isn't a bad idea.
No, we like them a lot. We would recommend you see both of them. If you haven't seen the 1934 version, you gotta. All right, so quickly, main characters in the 1956 version. Jimmy Stewart, of course, as Benjamin McKenna, Dr. Benjamin McKenna, and Doris Day as Joe Conway McKenna. In 1934, you got Leslie Banks as Bob Lawrence, Edna Best as Jill Lawrence, and we got Peter Lorre as the main bad guy. So, man, and he is fantastic.
Anything Peter Lorre's in is good.
Yeah. In the 1934 version, the setting is completely different from the 1956 version. Here, in 1934, it's in the cold Alps in Switzerland. In the 1956 version, we move to the hot climate of Morocco. There are many differences between these 2 versions, including the main skill of the leading woman. In 1934, she was a skeet shooter. In 1956, she was a famous singer.
Yeah, so we're talking about some differences here, but again, the shell of the story is the same. In the 1934 version, a British couple on holiday in Switzerland becomes entangled in international intrigue after a dying man whispers a cryptic message to Jill that points to an assassination, and then Jill's daughter is kidnapped to ensure their silence. In the 1956 version, this time it's an American family vacationing in Morocco when a dying man whispers a cryptic warning about an assassination in London. Sounds familiar. Their son is captured instead of the daughter, and the climax in both movies happen in a music hall. And so there's a lot around these movies that are very, very similar, but when you watch them, they are different movies.
Yeah, I think Hitchcock was wrong. The 1934 version is also the work of a professional.
I agree with you. It's really good.
We encourage you to watch the 1934 version of The Man Who Knew Too Much, and then watch the 1956 version to see if you agree with us. The 1934 version is a genuine find in the spy movie universe. All right, let's get to number 4, The 39 Steps. That was released in 1935. So let's move forward, only 1 year here, from the 1934 version of The Man Who Knew Too Much, and look at The 39 Steps. This was also directed by Alfred Hitchcock and considered by many to be the first spy movie ever made.
I hate that you say that.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's not, we've already talked about one of those.
I know, a lot of people say that. I don't know why they say that. It's probably
not. It's not the first spy movie, Dan.
No, it's not. It's not the first spy movie.
We're going to talk. I'm going to mention this at the end. I'm going to talk about a movie that was, as far as I can tell, the first spy movie, and it was in the 1920s.
Yeah, it's a silent movie. Maybe this is the first talkie spy movie. No, there's actually some before this.
It's not.
All right. So this is a great spy movie, and it's not as obscure as some of the others we'll mention today, but many spy movie fans have not seen it yet. It's an absolute must watch. So The 39 Steps has Robert Donat and Madeleine Carroll, and they're both fantastic in this movie. The basic plot is that a Canadian in London is pulled into espionage when a fleeing spy is murdered in his flat, and he finds himself framed for her death. On the run from both the police and foreign agents, he races to Scotland to uncover the secret of the titular 39 Steps, becoming entangled with another woman as he tries to stop a spy ring and clear his name. The story culminates in a tense disguise and chase showdown. It's really good.
It really is.
The 39 Steps has influenced many spy movies that followed. So, if you are a spy movie fan, then you must take a close look at the 39 Steps to see exactly what this movie is about, how it may have influenced other spy movies to come, and how the happenings in the real world influenced this spy movie. As in many Hitchcock movies, like North by Northwest, Notorious, The Man Who Knew Too Much, an innocent bystander is thrust into the world of espionage.
Now, Dan, there are really some really cool things we see in this movie, like you say, how it influences future spy movies. Some of the things we see, there's a wonderful double pursuit.
Yes.
Where both sides are chasing after this guy.
So he has nowhere to turn to for help.
Yeah, and there's a milkman uniform swap. We've seen that in James Bond. There's a small gyrocopter. They're trains. I don't think you can have a spy movie without trains. Well, you can, but usually it's trains.
This set the standard.
And bridges. And when you're watching this, pay attention to the sounds, the clanging of the wheels, and the lighting on the train and the bridge and the whole pursuit aspects of it. It is all part of the blueprint for future spy movies. So, as you said, Dan, this is a must-see for spy movie fans, as many movies were influenced by it. And part of that is the production value. It's Hitchcock, right? The production value is tremendous. The camera angles and the lighting are tremendous. The story is teasing and compelling. It makes you want to see more. So this is a really good spy movie. And there's a stage version of this, if you like to go to the theater and you can find this, that they somehow turned this movie into a comedy. Much of the dialogue is the same between the movie and the stage. But if you get a chance to watch it, it's just really funny. So catch it.
All right, let's move on to number 5, Secret Agent, 1936. Hey, another Hitchcock movie. He was so good.
And this movie combines a lot of the scenes and situations that, again, will become spy movie tropes. I mean, we're talking about movies at the beginning of the spy movie genre. So you're seeing these movies and how they're influencing other movies. Now, sometimes being a secret agent is not that secret. That's Bond, James Bond. Everybody seems to know who this secret agent is.
Yeah, I mean, this is another very interesting spy movie from the 1930s. It sets the tone, characters, and plots for a lot of these movies, a lot of the spy movies to come. In Secret Agent, British intelligence fakes the death of a captain and a novelist to send him on a mission to Switzerland under a new name to locate and kill a German spy. In the movie, he's working with a woman who, for purposes of the spy game, is posing as his wife, whom he will meet for the first time in Switzerland, and with the general, Peter Lorre, he meets her for the first time at the Hotel Excelsior in Switzerland. What a great setup for a movie.
Yeah, it really is.
Again, it's another classic spy movie that will influence many spy movies to come. Of course, there are suspicious characters, spies who are spies now who weren't spies before, moral dilemmas, trained scenes, questions as to what will happen in certain situations that involve people we think we can trust, and lots more. We think the train scenes here definitely influence many train scenes to come in future spy movies like From Russia with Love, Mission Impossible 1996, The Bourne Ultimatum, and a whole lot more.
Yeah, well, now there was a train scene in the 39 Steps as well that was integral to this plot. Although I don't think this is true. I mean, it really isn't, because there are spy movies that aren't. But it really almost seems like trains are a requirement for spy movies.
Yeah.
Now, Secret Agent has an all-star cast. It stars Sir John Gielgud. For those of you who only know the later parts of John Gielgud's acting career, take a look at this. It's amazing. Madeline Carroll and Robert Young are also in this.
Yeah,
and everyone is outstanding.
Yeah, they are.
And this is also based on a novel called Ashendon by W. Somerset Maugham.
This is an international spy thriller from 1936, and another one that we highly recommend you add to your spy movie watch list. Do it. All right, number 6, Sabotage, 1936.
So we've got 2 movies from 1936.
Yeah.
Right, now this movie, I'm going to just start it this way. Any movie that has Oscar Homolka in it is a must-watch. You have to see it just for him. And he is brilliant in this movie. But we think there are many reasons to watch Sabotage, which is based on Joseph Conrad's 1907 novel, The Secret Agent.
All right, here's a quick plot summary. There's trouble in London before World War II, as a series of explosions are happening in London, obviously the work of some terrorist person or persons. Karl
The
Verloc,
world seems never to change.
yeah, Karl Verloc is part of the group, but he appears to be a regular citizen, as he is a local movie theater owner. His wife becomes suspicious, though, and so does Scotland Yard. They assign Detective Sergeant Ted Spencer to track down what's happening. Verloc, a pretty evil guy, uses his wife's little brother Stevie to deliver the bombs in film canisters to various London locations. Hitchcock does his usual masterful work, building tension and suspense amidst great camera angles and photography, enhancing this desperate situation that you see here unfolding. There are spies living among us, and we never know who they're really working for. The plot line is intriguing. There are moments of angst and turmoil and sadness and wonder as to what will happen and why. Who, if any, will save the day, or is it too late? This is a great movie.
And what I really like here in this one is their use of kids or a kid. Most movies don't do what this movie does with this kid. Children are normally just you don't include them. And so in this case, what they do, the fact that this is a child doing some of this, dramatically heightens the suspense. I mean, this was really intense.
Yeah.
Especially when this thing came out, it was like, whoa, they didn't really do that with that kid.
Yeah. Take a listen to our full episode of this one. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. All right. So let's move on then to The Lady Vanishes. And this is another Hitchcock movie from 1938. And this movie is so good that it's been made at least 3 times since Hitchcock's version. And since this is a Hitchcock spy movie, we of course get a train as a key part to the movie. And in The Lady Vanishes, a young English woman, Iris Henderson, played by Margaret Lockwood, befriends an elderly governess, Miss Froy, this is Mae Whitty, and she is really good in this role.
Fantastic.
Well, she's traveling through a small European country. But after an overnight delay, Miss Froy mysteriously disappears from the train. How does that happen? When other passengers deny ever having seen her, Iris, with the reluctant help of musicologist Gilbert Redmond, who's played by Michael Redgrave, they search the train and they uncover a conspiracy among fellow travelers. And their investigation escalates into a life and death struggle to expose the kidnappers and save Miss Froy.
Yeah, the acting here is fantastic. Margaret Lockwood is terrific as well. I mean, you mentioned her. She's great. Now, this movie introduces us to a couple of other characters, Charters and Caldecott, and they're played by Basil Radford and Naughton Wayne. These guys are classic characters who were so well liked in this movie that they returned in the 1940 movie Night Train to Munich. We have a podcast episode on that movie as well, so check that out. But yeah, these characters are great. So we highly recommend you watch The Lady Vanishes. All right, let's move on. Number 8, The Adventures of Tartu, a 1943 movie. All right, this is not a pirate movie. It sounds like it should be a pirate movie with the name like that.
This to me is one of those hidden gems. I had never heard of this movie until we started doing this stuff. And this one was good.
It's a spy movie, and it was reissued in the United States under Sabotage Agent. But this also has Robert Donat. We mentioned him in the 39 Steps. Here, he's Terrence Stevenson and Captain Jan Tartu, both characters, and Valerie Hobson, who's magnificent. She's Marushka Lanova. Man, great cast in this movie, and many others who are terrific. All right, so this is our 8th non-James Bond spy movie here, and we highly recommend The Adventures of Tartu. First of all, it's a terrific story, complex, with many twists, and smack dab in the spy movie genre, and filmed and released during World War II in 1943. So in reality, it is a bit of a propaganda movie, and it is probably designed to bolster up the spirit of the British people in the midst of World War II, as here England is trying to do something good and significant against the Nazis. Take it to the Germans and defeat them. So this is a must-see because it is a true espionage movie on many, many levels. And so here's a quick summary of the plot. Germany's developing this poisonous gas that they will weaponize and use against the Allies. The British military calls in Captain Terence Stevenson to assign him to a very special spy mission. 1, get the formula for the gas. 2, destroy the manufacturing facility. They chose him because he has a chemical engineering background and he speaks fluent Romanian. He grew up in Romania, as his father had worked there before World War I, and he speaks German because he spent 2 years there at university in chemical engineering. We see the same concept later in Operation Crossbow, which we just put an episode out on. So he will take on the persona of Captain Jan Tartu, a Romanian Iron Guard captain who overtly supports the Nazis, as does the Iron Guard. All right.
Now, I think this cast is tremendous. We talked about Robert Donat is in this. He also is the star in the 39 Steps. Yeah, we've got Valerie Hobson here, and she's in Q Planes. A lot of these movies have the actors and actresses taking on roles in each of these movies.
Terrific.
The other thing is with this movie is there's a lightheartedness here. Sometimes we don't get that in spy movies from this era. Sometimes like Sabotage, there's no humor in that thing. Yeah. Right? So it's great to see this lightheartedness because with the exception of maybe Q Planes, everything else is fairly serious.
Yeah. The direction and production designs here are very solid, too. You get drawn into this movie very quickly, as you will see connections to other spy movies as well. It really is a fun watch and a great watch for a spy movie fan. Let's get on to number 9, Notorious, 1946. Wow.
Yeah, this is fun because this is dinner parties, cocktail parties, tuxedos, espionage, World War II war criminals, love, deception, murder, infiltration, secret plans. That's all part of this movie. I mean, it's a big list. Yeah. And it's Alfred Hitchcock still in this 1946 movie, Notorious. It's well written by Ben Hecht, though some say he co-wrote it with Hitchcock. It's got an amazing cast. Cary Grant as J.R. Devlin.
Yeah.
Ingrid Bergman as Alicia Huberman. And Claude Rains as Alex Sebastian.
Yeah.
Rains kills it in this movie.
Yeah. Claude Rains is fantastic.
Oh, good.
In everything he does. Hey, we have Ingrid Bergman and Claude Rains back together again in a movie after their appearance in Casablanca, which had its world premiere just a few years before in 1942. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's another character in here. Leopolda and Constantine plays Alex's mother, and she is really good.
Yes.
And they had her playing his mother, but in reality, she was only 4 years older than Claude Rains.
They pull it off, though. It looks
good.
I
was going to say, she had a very early birth. And I believe it was her only role in an American movie. So you may not have heard of her, but she was really good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good concept, this movie, too. J.R. Devlin, he's a CIA guy, and Alicia Huberman is the daughter of a Nazi war criminal who just got sentenced to 20 years in prison in the opening of the movie for treason against the United States. So his daughter is obviously still free, but her father is in jail. And Alex Sebastian is in Brazil, heading up a German concern in Rio. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, there's a great unwinding of a story that's both captivating and believable. Now, we have to remember, this movie is just after, like 6 months after World War II. And in real life, many Nazis escaped to South America, including Adolf Eichmann, Joseph Mengele, and others. So this scenario is one that many people in the Western world were aware of. So it's interesting to place it in a movie right after the war.
Yeah, this is a must-watch. The acting is superb, and the story is compelling. So we highly recommend watching or rewatching this movie after you listen to our full episode on this one, because we bring out a lot of details. And you can check out another episode we did with Tony Lee Morale, who wrote 4 books on Alfred Hitchcock, and we talk about a couple of the scenes in this movie with him that were special scenes and influenced many others to come. All right.
Well, one of those scenes, I'm just going to give you a little heads up. I'm not going to go through the whole thing here because we talk about it in the episode. But one of those scenes is kind of like an up yours from Hitchcock to the Hays Code.
Yeah.
We remember back before we had our rating system we have now, there was the Hays Code that was very, very strict. And so Hitchcock did a great thing with this one kissing scene. And
Yeah,
again, listen to the episode if you want to hear more about it.
Yeah. All right, our last one. This is our 10th pre-James Bond spy movie classic that we're recommending here in this episode. So we're talking about here the 1952 movie Five Fingers, starring James Mason, not the 2006 movie starring Lawrence Fishburne. It was the basis for the short-lived 1959 TV series starring James Bond veterans David Hedison and Luciana Paluzzi.
Yeah, and this one is totally based on James Mason. His performance is not surprisingly superb. And for me, and I talk more about this in the full episode, the performance he puts on in the last 90 seconds of this movie, to me, makes the whole movie worth watching. And don't get me wrong, the rest of the movie was really good. But that last 90 seconds was a force de triomphe in acting by James Mason. Now, as for the story, Ulysses Diallo, Mason's character, he's a valet to the British ambassador in neutral Ankara during World War II. And he sells top secret British documents to the Germans while dreaming of money and a new life with a refugee countess. And as his espionage yields valuable intelligence, British intelligence closes in, alliances fray, revealing greed, betrayal, and compelling deceptions here. And he has this very fun relationship with Countess Anastaviska, who's played by Danielle Darieux, and the supporting roles are very well cast as well.
Yeah. Now, how he gets the documents and relays them to the Germans and his attitude about doing so is really fun to watch. This is a fantastic movie. Now, this movie is inspired by the real-life story of Elisa Bosna. It isn't a documentary here, but it is based on a real guy. And as Tom said, James Mason is just fantastic in this one.
You've got to watch it. You've got to watch this one.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, that was 10 movies. I do want to add one that I liked that we didn't do here because this is a tough watch. It's a silent movie. It's long. And it's so old that good prints aren't really easy to find. And I'm talking about the Fritz Lang movie, Spione. Now, to me, this is the first full-length spy movie that I've been able to find.
Yeah.
It isn't as good as the ones we've mentioned today, but there are some things in it that influenced future spy movies. And it might be worth a watch, but again, it is a silent movie and it's long. So if you're not good with those, maybe you skip this one, but it does set the stage for a lot of spy movies. And we do have an episode out on this one as well.
All right. We have more great spy movies for you to discover. That's the topic, though, for another episode. So for now, that's a wrap. This has been Dan.
And Tom.
Of SpyMovieNavigator.com and our show, Cracking the Code of Spy Movies. Please subscribe to our show and our YouTube channel right now. We appreciate you spending time with us. Thanks.